YouTube channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Bento, and today we are going to be doing a Survivor Perk tier list. It's something that a lot of my viewers have requested over time, and this tier list is going to go all the way up to Arella Rose, patch 8.7.0. So, depending on when you are watching this, it may not be totally accurate. So before I get into this, let me talk about how we're going to rank these perks. I'm not going to be using this F tier. We're just going to be using, oh wait, we're not going to use E either. So we're going to have S, A, B, C, and D. So S tier perks are going to be like, let's think of this on a scale of 0 to 5 or 1 to 5 more so. S is going to be like your 5 perks. In terms of Survivor perks, I would say this is any perk that has the capacity to change the outcome of the game. And you'll see what I mean once we start putting perks in that tier. It's very strict in terms of an S tier perk, but that's sort of how I view it, is a perk that has game-changing abilities. A tier perks are going to be very good perks that don't necessarily have an impact on the outcome of the game. So again, you'll also understand what kind of perks go into this, but just for a little preview, this will mostly be like exhaustion perks, with a couple of exceptions. B tier perks are just your meh perks. These are very mid. They're not great. They're not horrible. They're nothing to really write home about though. They don't have an impact on the outcome of the game at all, negative or positive. They're just sort of there. C tier perks are going to be your perks where the value you get out of them is negligible. They're not very good at all. But they're not the worst. They're not the worst because D tier is the worst, and these are going to be the Survivor perks that are actually a detriment for you to run. They are either a waste of time, or they just require conditions that are near impossible to activate or are a complete waste of time for you to use. So now that that is clear, let's get into this. So, starting with Ace in the Hole. This is a perk from Ace Visconti, and this perk allows you to get add-ons on your items that you search from chests. There's also, I don't know the exact conditions of the perk, but it increases the chance for you to get an item of higher rarity as well. So this is going to be a C tier perk. This is very negligible value. Why are you even searching chests in the first place? But if you are, negligible value. You could bring an item into the trial with those conditions and refill it with like Build to Last. So, yeah. Adrenaline, S tier perk, based on the conditions that I put. Adrenaline gives you a health state after all the gens have been repaired and a 3-second speed boost for 50 seconds. It also ignores you're exhausted. So, yeah, definitely can have an outcome. Like, it can affect the outcome of the game 100%. Alert. This is going to be a B. This is a B. This is like a meh perk. In terms of killer aura reading perks, definitely one of the better ones. But in terms of perks in general, I would give it a B alone. Alert basically just reveals the aura of the killer anytime they kick a gen, kick a pallet, anything like that. Balanced Landing. Okay, this is our first exhaustion perk besides Adrenaline, I guess, on the list. Balanced Landing, I'm gonna give Balanced Landing a B, and I know I said that I would probably put most exhaustion perks in A tier, but in the case of Balanced Landing, it's a little bit too map dependent for me to want to put it in A. It's definitely not a bad perk. Like I said, B tier perks are not bad, they're just kind of mid, and that's how I feel about Balanced Landing. I would never choose Balanced Landing over Dead Hard or Sprint Burst or Lithe just because of its map dependency, especially now that map offerings have been pretty much nerfed into the ground. Alright, next we have Bond. For Bond, I'm going to give it an A. Bond is definitely an A tier perk, especially in solo queue. It sort of removes the need to be like, where are my teammates? What gen are they on? You know, if you're within 32 meters of them, you'll see them, unless you're afflicted by blindness, of course. But it removes a lot of that lack of knowledge in solo queue. And it's not totally useless when you're playing with friends either. So yeah, Bond is definitely an A tier perk. Next we have Borrowed Time. Borrowed Time. I'm going to give Borrowed Time a C. And again, hear me out. I know it's an anti-tunnel perk, but it is not an anti-tunnel perk that has enough of an outcome on the game for it to be like A or S. The value you get from it is negligible, and I say that because you don't get any value out of running this perk. It is a team anti-tunnel perk, and some of those are especially good, and we'll get to those later on, but with Borrowed Time, I'd say it kind of misses the mark with that. Back in the day, absolutely an S tier perk. Now, I think I could be a little bit more generous and give it a B, but I'm going to stick with C. One other thing I want to point out is I'm not putting these perks in order on each tier. It would just take too long for me to do that. So there's no order within the tiers. This is just putting the perks in their respective tiers. And one other thing, because we're going to get into some perks later that I feel like people might disagree with, but we are not taking perk combos into account either. These are the perks on their own, how much value you get out of them. All right, moving on. Botany Knowledge. Botany Knowledge is a B. I would say it's a B. It just got a buff, so it works better with medkits now, and the value definitely isn't negligible anymore. Before that buff, I would have said C. Now I'm saying B. It's a meh perk. Again, not great, not horrible, just kind of there. All right. Calm Spirit, definitely a C. Calm Spirit is the perk that makes it so that you don't scream ever, even when you get hit by the killer or down by the killer. But the only killers you'll really see a lot of value out of this from is Doctor and maybe Clown, because you scream every time you run in the gas with Clown. So, and on top of that, it makes your cleansing speed for totems and your chest opening speed slower. So you can't really combine this with any kind of like totem or chest perk at all. I don't even know why it has that downside. This perk is bad. It's not an active detriment, so it's not D, but it is bad. Dark Sense. Dark Sense. That's a C. Dark Sense is the perk that reveals the killer's aura after a gen is completed if you are within 24 meters of them. It's just such a tight activation requirement. You're probably not going to get it every time a gen is completed. And it's just not good. Dark Sense is not good. Alright. Dead Hard. S. I do not like Dead Hard. I do not use Dead Hard. But let me make one thing very clear. Dead Hard absolutely can change the outcome of a game. Several times I'll be playing like with friends or whatever, and Dead Hard will just come in clutch in the end game. And it, as much as I think this perk is terrible compared to what it used to be, it is objectively an S tier perk based on the standards that I gave. It can change the outcome of the game. So, yeah. Decisive Strike, same thing, S tier. DS is an anti-tunnel perk that activates after you've been unhooked for 60 seconds, and during that time, if the killer picks you up, you will get a little tiny skill check, and if you hit that, you will get off the killer's shoulder for free. It only works once, but again, it can absolutely have an impact on the outcome of the game. It can extend your chase beyond belief if you go down in an area with like a lot of pallets or something, and it can make it so that the game goes from a win to a loss, or a loss to a win. I guess a win to a loss for the killer, but a loss to a win for the survivors. So absolutely S tier. Deja Vu, that is an A. Deja Vu used to be terrible, and I remember when I came back to the game, I was really confused on why everybody was running it. But Deja Vu reveals the auras of the 3 generators that are closest to each other and gives you a 6% speed boost on the repairs of those generators. So this is really, really good for preventing 3 gens. It's great in solo queue for that reason, and the speed boost on the repair is nice. It can't quite have an impact on the outcome of the game because I don't think 6% is really enough to justify that. And again, the aura reveal is nice, but at the same time, because 3 gens aren't really like a thing anymore, like the killer has a limit on how many times a gen can regress now, I would say it can't really have an impact on the outcome of the game. Still a great perk, though. Alright, this one is Detective's Hunch. This perk reveals the auras of totems, chests, and generators, I believe. Just those 3 things. After a gen has been completed within 64 meters of you. So it's a decent aura reading perk. You'll pretty much always get value out of it unless, I guess unless no gens get done or if the killer has something that's causing you to be blind. But you can get the same effect from this from a map. That's my biggest issue with this perk, is it's a map in a perk. And why would you devote a perk slot to something that you can have an item for? So for that reason, I'm going to give it a B. It's not horrible, not great, it's just kind of there. Empathy. Empathy, I'm going to give... Empathy is going to go in B. Empathy is a perk that reveals the auras of all injured survivors to you. I think the range is like 96 meters, so on most maps it'll be pretty much all the time that you can see the auras of those injured survivors, which is good. If you're, running like a healing build or something, it'll tell you where you need to go to heal those survivors. But, there are just better perks. That's the way I see it. It's very mid. It's not great, not horrible. It's just kind of there. Alright, next we have Hope. Hope is definitely an A tier perk. Can't quite have an impact on the outcome of the game unless stacked, and like I said, we're doing these perks individually. And, it's still definitely a good perk, though. Hope gives you 7% haste indefinitely after the exit gates are powered. So, Iron Will. Iron Will. This one is tough for me. I think people are going to hate me for this, but I got to put Iron Will in B, okay? I'll explain why. For starters, what Iron Will does, it reduces your grunts of pain by 100%, so you're completely silent while you're injured unless you are exhausted. So that's what Iron Will does. The reason I'm putting it in B is because if you want to get full value out of it, you cannot run an exhaustion perk. You have to just have Iron Will. And on top of that, the majority of killers aren't tracking you based off of their ears alone. They are tracking you with aura reading perks. They are tracking you with your scratch marks and your pools of blood and your footsteps and things like that. And Iron Will just isn't going to make that big of a difference in terms of tracking. Maybe I'm a little bit biased. I will say that. Maybe I am a little bit biased because I am deaf. And so it doesn't matter if you use Iron Will when you're playing against me. I can't hear you anyway. So that's again, I might be a little bit biased, but I'm going to go with B. I was sort of between A and B, but I'm going with B. Kindred. Kindred is an A, especially in solo queue. Kindred is amazing for a couple of reasons. The aura rating from the killer is nice. The aura rating of the other survivors is awesome. It tells you who's going for the hook. But here is why I think Kindred is really underrated, even not in solo queue. If you are running Kindred, the range on that is 16 meters, okay? The anti-camp range is also 16 meters. So, if you can see the killer on Kindred, and there are no survivors nearby the hook, you know that the anti-camp meter is going up. That is why Kindred is so good. Is for that little bit of information that we somehow still don't have on the HUD. The anti-camp range. So, alright, Leader. Leader is a C. This perk is a little bit worse than mid. It's very negligible value. Once again, it's kind of like borrowed time to me in the sense that you don't get any of the value out of that perk. Leader is like a team perk. All your teammates are going to see the increased heal speed, the increased unhook speed, stuff like that, but you won't. So it's kind of just like negligible value to me. Again, not the worst, but negligible value. Left Behind. This is our first D tier perk. And before you say what I think you're going to say, while this perk, while bringing it into the trial and using it is not an active detriment, in order to get value out of it, there has to be, like, everybody else has to be dead, right? So in order to use this perk, your team has to be at an active detriment. You know what I mean? Yeah, the hatch reveal is nice, I guess, but again, you could get the same thing from a map. Why devote your perk slot to something that requires your entire team to be dead when you could get the same thing out of a map? That's all I have to say about it. Alright, lightweight. This is C. So lightweight basically just like spreads your scratch marks out a little bit more and makes them disappear a little faster. But this perk is kind of janky. And I've noticed that it doesn't really do a whole lot. Like, if you run this perk with Fixated, you'll notice that, like, your scratch marks aren't as spread out as you would think. And even when they are, it's honestly making it a little bit easier for the killer to track you. Like, I don't really know how to explain it. You would have to see this perk in action for it to make sense. But, yeah. I mean, again, not an active detriment, but it, like, the value is negligible at best from this perk. Alright, Lithe. This is an A. My favorite exhaustion perk, by far. I acknowledge that it's not the objective best exhaustion perk, but it is my favorite, and I love Lithe. It's not game-changing in terms of the value it brings, but it is good, and I really like Lithe. A tier perk. Alright, No Mither. This is a D. I don't care what anybody says, this is a D. I will not fight you on this. You Sabo squads, you can't hook me, you can't slug me squads, leave me alone. Just stop. This perk is terrible. This is an active detriment to bring this into the game. Being broken for the entire game, stop. Just stop. Okay. No One Left Behind. So this perk reveals your teammates' auras in the endgame and increases your heal and unhook speed by, I believe, 100%. Could be wrong about that. Maybe it's 50, but I think it's 100. So this perk I am going to give a... This is going to get a B. It's not great. It's not horrible. You only get value out of it in the end game, and that's if you make it to the end game. You and at least one teammate make it to the end game. So, yeah, I would just say it's kind of meh. It's not great, not horrible. It's just kind of there. Alright, Object of Obsession. I'm going to give this a B. In the hands of the best players, this perk is amazing. I will say that. However, most of you who are using this should not be using this. Okay? You just shouldn't. I mean, it's really, you're going to get the most value out of it whenever the killer has a full aura reading build. It'll help you identify what perks those that they have, and that's nice. And that, like I said, that information is good, but it's not great. It's not great. Because a lot of the killers who run full aura reading builds don't care if you can see them anyway. Nurse, for instance. Nurse is one of the only killers I run a full aura reading build on. And what does a nurse care if you can see her aura? She can teleport through walls. It's not going to make a difference. So, yeah. I mean, and the passive aura reading, if you are the obsession, is also nice. You know where the killer is, but then they know where you are too. And if you're on a gen with another person, that's free double pressure that they get. You know, stuff like that. You have to have incredibly good game sense to use this perk well, and I feel like most people don't. So, that's how I feel about Object. It's not great, not terrible. In the hands of the average player. Alright, Open-Handed. That is a C. Again, on its own, it is a C. I know, people are going to be like, Kindred Open-Handed is such a goated combo. These perks are not being gauged based on how good they are in a combo. These perks are being gauged based on how good they are on their own, and Open-Handed is not. It is, the value you'll get out of this perk is extremely negligible, if anything, without any other aura reading perk. So, I mean, it's... Yeah, I mean, it's whatever. This perk is just, yeah. Pharmacy. This is a C. Pharmacy basically guarantees that you will get a green medkit, or It's an emergency medkit, so now it's a blue medkit, excuse me, out of a chest when you search it while you are injured. It also, I think, like, makes the sounds of opening the chest, like, decreased by 8 meters or some shit. I don't know, it's just terrible. Yeah, like this perk. Negligible value. I mean, you're better off running Bond to know where your teammates are so they can heal you than to ever run Pharmacy and spend that time opening a chest to get a medkit. I mean, yeah. Plunderer's Instinct. This is a C on its own. Again, in a full chest build, I could kind of maybe see the value out of it, but we are not talking about combos. Plunderer's Instinct on its own is a C. The value you'll get out of it is negligible. All it does is show you the auras of chests within, like, I think 64 meters or something. And it increases, like, the chance to get better items by, like, a small amount as well. It's just, yeah, like, why are you even searching chests? Alright, Premonition. This is a C. I might be a little bit biased on this one because, as far as I understand, Premonition is just an audio cue whenever it activates, and I don't use audio cues, so maybe that's why I think it's so bad. I believe what it does is it gives an audio cue whenever you are looking in the direction of the killer within, like, 40-something meters or something. Yeah, it's very negligible value. Like, it's like a worse version of an aura reading perk. It's like the survivor version of Whispers. That's the best way I can explain it. Whispers used to be good, not anymore. Alright, Prove Thyself. I'm gonna give Prove Thyself a B. So Prove Thyself increases your cooperative repair speed by 9%. It cannot stack with itself, so if another survivor also has Prove Thyself, it will not stack. It'll just be one of y'all's Prove Thyselves, increasing it by 9%. But the cooperative repair speed debuff is 15% base. So if you repair another gen with a gen with another survivor, there will be a 15% hit to the repair speed that you guys do together. So Prove Thyself gives you 9% of that back, so you're still dealing with a 6% hit. So combined with Deja Vu, not bad, but on its own, it's kind of meh. You know, it's just there. It's nice, you know, like to have not a full 15% hit, but it's nothing to write home about. So, all right, Quick and Quiet. This is a C on its own. Once again, on its own, this is a C. Quick and Quiet makes your fast vaults and fast locker entrances quiet, completely silent, and then goes on a cooldown for like 20 seconds, I think. Yeah, it's just like I said, on its own, it's very meh. It's negligible value at best. I mean, no killer is using the loud noise notification during chase to track you. I mean, it's, yeah. Resilience. This is an A tier perk for sure. Resilience is one of my favorite perks. I honestly think everybody should be required to use this perk when they first start playing for like at least a couple of months or like 100 hours or something, because this perk encourages you and teaches you how to play injured, and that is one of the most important things that survivor players need to learn how to do. And you will see that becomes a common theme with where I put a lot of these survivor perks on the tier list. But yeah, Resilience, A tier. It's very solid all around. The 9% speed boost to essentially everything you do is great incentive to learn how to play injured, and I love this perk. I love it to death. Alright, Saboteur. This is a C on its own. This perk has a 60-second cooldown, which I did not know until I got it in Chaos Shuffle once. 60-second cooldown for this is crazy. You will never, like, this is the most negligible value perk that sounds good on paper ever. Because, again, Saboteur alone has a 60-second cooldown. If you don't have anything else to combine it with, it's just, yeah, negligible value at best. Alright, Self-Care. This is D. This is D. It takes 47 seconds to heal with self-care alone. And again, we are doing combo lists here. So that is an active detriment for you to use this perk. That is 47 seconds. That is over half of a gen. That is 47 seconds you could have been doing a damn generator or saving a teammate off the hook. This perk is terrible. This is arguably one of the worst perks in the entire game, but we'll get to that as we put more perks in D tier. Slippery Meat. This perk just got, I don't want to say like a buff, but a rework. Basically now it like unlocks the ability to unhook yourself. Because before it like gave, and it still does, give like a couple extra % chance that you'll unhook yourself, and gives you a couple extra chances to do it. Because base before it was like 3 times before they got rid of the self unhook. And I think Slippery Meat gives you 6. So, but I mean still, it's a C. I mean the value you'll get out of this is negligible at best. For a self unhook perk, there are at least 2 better options, which we will get to. Alright, small game. This is a C. I believe this one is also audio based, so maybe again I'm a little bit biased. It's like when you look in the direction of a totem within a certain like meter radius, you'll get an audio cue. It's so stupid. Like, it just bring a fucking map, please. Like, there's so many perks I've said already. Just bring a map. Like, you can get the exact same value, if not better value, out of a map. And this is an example of, like, a map is better. Objectively. Like, yeah, this perk is terrible. Not an active detriment, but terrible. Soul Survivor. I'm going to put this in D because I also put Left Behind in D, and it's the same principle, right? Like, in order to get value out of this perk, your entire team has to be dead. So it kind of, in a way, encourages you to, like, play like a rat and let your team die so you can get perk value. I don't know why they still have perks that are designed like this. Like, this is terrible. This is an active detriment. Like, your team has to be in an active detriment for this to work. So, yeah, like, this is terrible. Alright, Spine Chill. This is a C. So the way Spine Chill works is the icon will light up when the killer has a direct line of sight of you within, like, 36 meters, I think. And in that time, if the killer is looking directly at you, you'll get, like, a tiny little repair speed boost or healing speed boost or whatever. It used to apply to vaults, and so it worked really well with resilience. It was a very nice combo. But on its own and in its current state, value is negligible at best. Sprint Burst. Sprint Burst is an A tier for sure. Definitely not game changing in terms of its impact, but it is the best exhaustion perk, and it is very good. I have nothing bad to say about Sprint Burst at all. Alright, Stakeout. So Stakeout gains tokens for however long you're in the killer's terror radius. I think it's for each 15 seconds you're in the killer's terror radius without being in chase. And you use those tokens by hitting good skill checks, and those tokens will turn those good skill checks into great skill checks. On its own, this is a C. The value is negligible. I mean, for a great skill check, you get 1% extra on the gen. So say you have 3 tokens, you get 3% extra on the gen for 45 seconds of your time of being in the killer's terror radius. Again, not an active detriment, but it's not good on its own. It's very negligible value. Streetwise. This is a C. The only item you ever want to use Streetwise with is a toolbox. You will never, ever, ever see the value out of it with a flashlight or a medkit. Yeah, and the value you see out of it when it is a toolbox is negligible anyway. So, I mean, this is just not, it's not a very good perk. It's not horrible, but it's, you know, negligible value. Technician. This is another D. Technician, while I understand the use of it for new players and that, like, fear of missing skill checks, Technician is objectively, actively a detriment because it takes 3% extra off the gen when you miss the skill check in exchange for not blowing it up. So instead of 10% that you lose off the gen when you miss the skill check, it's 13. So again, as much as I do understand why new players run this, no, I will continue to be okay with new players running it. It's just not good. I mean, it's an active detriment to the team. Tenacity. Tenacity on its own is a C. Tenacity basically allows you to crawl while you are recovering from the dying state. I don't think it increases your recovery speed. Maybe it does. I'm not quite sure, but even if it did, it would still be a C. Again, the value is negligible at best. This is not happening. This is a C. This perk increases how big the great skill check range is when you are injured by like 30%. So it makes it a lot easier to hit great skill checks when you're injured. But again, great skill checks only give you an extra 1% on the gen. And you could still miss. You could still miss the great skill check range and hit a good instead. I could really only see this having very niche value in combination with resilience. But once again, we're doing combo lists. So on its own, the value is negligible with this perk. Unbreakable. This is an S tier perk. Can absolutely have an impact on the outcome of the game. Unbreakable allows you to pick yourself up from the dying state once per trial and increases your recovery speed by, is it 25% or 50? I'm not quite sure exactly how much faster your recovery speed is, but it is faster. And you can pick yourself up from the dying state once per trial, so if the killer's slugging, can absolutely turn the game around. I've had it turn around games before, so yeah, great perk. Up the ante. So this is another perk that unlocks the ability to unhook yourself, like slippery meat, and it gives you extra luck. I believe like 1% per survivor still alive or something like that. So if all 4 survivors are still alive, you'll have like an 8% chance to unhook yourself. So yeah, this is a C tier perk. This is not good. Not good at all. Urban Evasion. This is a C. Negligible value at best. The only time I can think of this having any kind of tangible value is against like a huntress or something. When you have to crouch behind the loop to not get hit, it allows you to move faster while you're crouching. 95% faster, so. But yeah, I mean, you don't know who the killer's going to be upon entering the trial, so people who bring this don't bring it to do that. Okay. Vigil. Vigil. I'm going to give Vigil a B. Yeah. I believe Vigil increases how quickly you recover from status effects by, I want to say 40%. It might be higher now, though. So this includes everything. Exhausted, exposed, blindness, if that's on a timer, broken, if that's on a timer. Yeah, so like it's mostly used for exhaustion with Sprint Burst. But yeah, definitely, it's kind of just meh. I wouldn't say it's great. It's not horrible. Because if it is 40%, it would just... let me do some quick math here. So you're exhausted for 40 seconds base, and if it's 40% on Vigil, that would bring your 24 seconds instead. So I mean, like, are you probably gonna get your Sprint Burst back in Chase? No. I mean, but it's there on the off chance that you do have the ability to manage your exhaustion that well, and people that do, I applaud you. Wake up. Wake up. I'm going to put Wake Up in B. This is definitely like a lot better in solo queue. It is really nice to be able to know which door your teammates are opening, especially if you're mid-chase. The only reason I can't quite put this, like, this is bottom of the barrel B for me. I was this close to putting it in C. But the only reason it is not higher is because it's just it's too niche in my opinion, even for a solo queue perk. It assumes that you'll make it to the end game, and it assumes that you'll have teammates alive in the end game. It also assumes, well, it doesn't assume this, but you don't get any tangible value out of it as the user, much like borrowed time and leader, right? Like it just, you personally won't get any value out of it, aside from the exit gate opening speed, but I mean, we should be 99ing gates anyway, so. All right, We'll Make It, A. We'll Make It is absolutely an A tier perk. Yeah, I have nothing bad to say about this perk. Increases your healing speed by 100%, all the time. After it's 90, I think it's active for 90 seconds after you unhook somebody. So you can heal somebody with your Will Make It after unhooking them, and then go and heal the rest of the team 100% faster as well. This is one of those perks that I'm really surprised hasn't been nerfed yet, but yeah, it is good. We're Gonna Live Forever. This perk is S in our current state of the game. This perk allows you to recover survivors from the dying state 100% faster. So when you're healing somebody who is slugged, you do that 100% faster. So from 0 to full, it'll take 16 seconds instead of 32. And it gives them 10 seconds of endurance after you pick them up. So yeah, this perk is insanely good for anti-slugging. Can absolutely have an impact on the outcome of the game. Nothing bad to say about it at all. Boil Over. Boil Over, I'm going to put in C. And this is what I'll say about Boil Over. This perk is all over the place in low MMR. All over the place. On paper, it sounds really good. It does, right? Like, when the killer drops off of falls from a great height while carrying you, you'll gain 33% of your existing wiggle progress, and it makes your movement while wiggling, like, I think like 80% stronger or something. But here's the thing. A lot of people read that and think, oh, I'm going to wiggle off faster. No, you won't. Boil Over does not make you wiggle off any faster. It makes your wiggle movements stronger. That's what it does. And obviously, if the killer drops from a great height, you'll gain 33% of your existing wiggle progress, but that's very map dependent. And a lot of killers, once they see that they have the debuff in their bottom right, they just won't drop off of heights. They'll either slug you if they have to, or they'll walk down the stairs or something. So it's just, yeah. I mean, it sounds really good, so I get why it's all over the place in low MMR. It is definitely a noob trap. It is not good. Dance With Me. Dance With Me is a C on its own. I will say there is the Ninja build, which is live, Dance With Me, and quick and quiet. And that build makes it so that when you vault a window, essentially, like, you have no scratch marks, you did it silently, and you gain, like, a whole bunch of distance. So I get, like, what they're going for with that build. But Dance With Me on its own, the value is negligible. I mean, I think it removes your scratch marks for, like, 5 seconds now instead of 3, and it has a shorter cooldown, but still, I mean, it's just meh on its own. It's, you know, but not, like, good enough to be B meh. It's not good. Alright, Windows of Opportunity. This is an A, and, excuse me. Before the Windows is a crutch perk, people fucking come after me. Windows is objectively good. Whether or not you want to call it a crutch perk, it's objectively good, okay? Especially in solo queue. You don't know which pallets your teammates have dropped. Come on. You can't expect solo queue players to know that at any point in the game. It's also good for people who just don't want to sit down and memorize every fucking tile on every map. Like, I've been playing long enough to not need Windows, but I still run it sometimes in solo queue because I don't know which pallets my teammates are going to drop. Alright? It's just the way it is. I hate when people refer to any perk as a crutch, okay? All perks are crutches by that definition. Perks exist to help us and assist us in our games. So by that definition, all perks are crutches. Okay? Not just Windows, not just NoEd. Every perk is a crutch. If you think Windows is a crutch perk, so is every other perk. It's just the way it is. Windows is an A tier perk. Autodidact. Autodidact. I'm gonna give this a C. I was kind of considering putting it in B, but the value, once again, is negligible. Unless somehow you get to like 4 or 5 stacks, in which case, definitely a B. Definitely a B. But I think there's definitely a curse with Autodidact. The second you equip this perk, you get like 100% fewer skill checks while healing. It's the curse of Autodidact. I know people who use this perk know what I'm talking about. Alright, Deliverance. This is an S. Deliverance is consistently, in my opinion, the best survivor perk in the entire game. It essentially removes all of the pressure that a killer gains by hooking a survivor, right? Because, let me immerse you a little bit here, okay? So when a killer hooks a survivor, that requires at least one survivor, assuming we're not in solo queue and people know who's going for the unhook. That requires one person to get off a gen and go for the save. Hypothetically, the killer's going to start chasing another survivor, so that leaves only one survivor that's on a gen. Versus before, when there were 3 people on a gen, right? Before, this person with Deliverance was in chase. Well, you throw Deliverance into the mix, and suddenly now nobody has to go for the unhook. You can unhook yourself, and then immediately get on a gen. And it's free. It is that pressure just gone from the killer. It is this perk, I feel like nobody really understands the gravity of this perk, right? It's really good for anti-camping too, right? Because if the killer's camping you, you can just unhook yourself in their face eventually, after you are about to hit your second stage. But even when the killer's not camping, it still removes any pressure that they have. You know, it's just incredibly strong. Deliverance is an S tier perk, and arguably the best survivor perk in the game, and I will die on that hill. Diversion. This is a C. I know this perk is a lot of fun. Excuse me. Ooh, sorry. I know this perk is a lot of fun. I think it's a lot of fun, but it's not good. Let's be honest with ourselves. This perk is not good. Aftercare. Aftercare's a B. This perk is just kind of meh. It's just there. I mean, the aura reading is cute. It's nice. Yeah. Basically, this perk activates after you unhook somebody, you heal somebody, or somebody unhooks or heals you, and that person's aura is revealed to you for the rest of the trial, or I believe it's until you get hit again, maybe. And your aura is revealed to them until you get hit again. So, you know, it's not horrible, it's not great, it's just kind of there. Breakdown. This is a C on its own, once again. I understand why Sabo squads use this, you know, makes it a lot harder for the killer to keep hooking you after they've hooked you once. Basically, Breakdown removes the hook after you are unhooked from it for 180 seconds. But hook spawns generally are pretty fucking strong, you know, like there will be 2 hooks within a bee's dick of each other. So, I mean, yeah. You're not going to get a whole lot of value out of this if you run it, and you're not in a Sabo squad. Combo list, it's not good. Distortion. This is a C. This perk used to be a lot better, but it was nerfed not too long ago. Basically, you start with 1 token. You can have up to 2, and you gain tokens back by being in chase for 15 seconds. Once the killer attempts to read your aura, you will lose a token, and that's how the perk works. So, this perk is kind of counterintuitive, and that's why I have it so low. Because anybody who wants to have their aura hidden probably doesn't want to be in chase, right? That's the whole reason they're hiding their aura, is so the killer doesn't find them and chase them. So, by requiring you to gain tokens back through chase, it's counterintuitive for the people who want to use it. The information from it is decent, not as good as objects, because, you know, obviously when the killer attempts to read your aura and you lose a token, you'll be able to say, okay, like, let's say the killer just hooks somebody and you lose a distortion token, they have barbecue, you know, stuff like that. Killer kicks a gen and you're nearby and you lose a token, nowhere to hide, stuff like that. So the information is decent, but it's just, the value you'll get from it is negligible, solely for the fact that it's counterintuitive in nature. It's, yeah, I mean, I think it needed that nerf. I think, making the tokens be based off chase was a good decision, but I don't think they should have limited it to 2 tokens. Head on. Head on is a C. This is an exhaustion perk that allows you to stun the killer by fast exiting a locker when they are nearby. I think it stuns them for like 3 seconds or something. It's definitely a fun perk, but it's not a good perk. Especially because it's an exhaustion perk. That means you can't run Sprint Burst or Lithe or Dead Hard or Balance Landing with this. So, yeah. I mean, it's mostly used in, like, troll and meme builds. I understand that. But just from an objective perspective, the value you'll get out of it is negligible, especially compared to the other options for exhaustion perks. Alright, Poised. Poised is a B. I'm gonna give Poised a B. Yeah. It's since it's buff, it's kind of just a meh perk. When you get on a gen for the first time, it will reveal the killer's aura for 10 seconds. Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, if the killer's a stealth killer, you're not gonna get a whole lot of value out of it. If it's like a ghost face or a wraith or something, aside from the value of knowing it's a stealth killer when you first get on a gen. But yeah, I mean, this perk is kind of just meh. It's not great, it's not horrible. Solidarity. Solidarity is a C. And I know a lot of people hype this perk up. Basically what it does is when you heal a survivor while you are injured, once you complete that heal, you will be healed at 70% of whatever it is you're missing, right? So if you're at 0, you'll go up to 70%, basically. But it's, again, 70% of what you're missing, so you can never get a full heal from it, kind of like reactive healing. But yeah, so Solidarity. My big issue with this perk is that a lot of the time, when I find myself healing somebody while I'm injured, it's only when I've gone to get an unhook while I'm injured, which is not something that you ideally should be doing, right? If the killer has good macro knowledge, they're going to know the only injured survivor went for the unhook and they're going to come right back. So that's kind of the issue with this perk. Most of the time in other situations when I'm being healed, or while I'm healing somebody, I'm never really healing somebody while injured in any other situation. Unless, again, the situation I named, or they have more hook states than me. It's negligible value at best. That's what I have to say about it. Medal of Man, C. Or no, wait, this isn't medal. This is Buckle Up. Still C. Buckle Up gives, so basically whenever you pick up a survivor from the dying state, it'll reveal the killer's aura for a little bit. And it will give the survivor that you revived haste for a little bit as well. I believe it's like 50% haste as well. And it doesn't exhaust them either. So, it's alright. I mean, but again, negligible value at best. The only time you're going to get any value out of this is when it's either in a full anti-slug build, which we're doing combo lists once again. Yeah, that's it. Full anti-slug build. Because in any other situation, if the killer's not slugging, you're not going to see any value. So, yeah. Flip-flop, C, on its own. This perk converts your recovery progress to wiggle progress. But I believe it's like at a 50% conversion rate. So if you're like halfway recovered when the killer picks you up, you'll have like a quarter of your wiggle progress, if that makes sense. So, yeah. I mean, the only time people use this perk is in, like, power struggle troll builds, but we're evaluating these perks on their own once again, so this is a C. This is Medal of Man. Okay, this is a C. Medal of Man basically gives you a free hit. It's not an endurance hit, so I'll get into that in a second. It gives you a free hit after you have taken 3 protection hits. So, and when I say it's not endurance hit, you will get deep wounded, but it does not function like an endurance hit. So you can use this with like off the record. So if you were to take an off the record hit, you could take a Medal of Man hit after, or you could take a Medal of Man hit and then take an off the record hit, if that makes sense. So it, yeah, I mean like, but 3 protection hits. I can't remember the last time I took 3 protection hits in a single game. Not because I'm not altruistic. I definitely am, especially when I play with friends. But you have to go out of your way to get that. If you're going out of your way to take protection hits, that's time you could have been on gens. That's all I have to say. Babysitter. Babysitter is definitely an A. Okay, so Babysitter just got nerfed again. For a little while there, it was 25% haste for 10 seconds after you were unhooked, and then it would go down to 15 for 20 more seconds, I think. Or 15 more seconds. Something like that. And during that time, I would have said S. I would have absolutely said S tier. Could be game changing if the killer chooses to tunnel a person with Babysitter on them. But they nerfed it back down from 15 to 10%, so you move 20% faster for 10 seconds and 10% faster for 15 seconds. So, yeah, you will not be faster than the killer anymore except for the initial 10 seconds that you are off the hook. So, yeah, still good. Don't get me wrong. Not game-changing anymore. Better Together. This perk reveals the aura of your generator, I think when you first start repairing it, to any survivors within like a certain range. But that's all it does. So yeah, I mean this is a C. The value, you're not going to get any value out of it, and the value your team will get out of it is negligible. It's, yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't have a lot to say about that perk. Camaraderie. This is a C. This perk, essentially, okay, so it's like reassurance, but it works for yourself. So basically, if a survivor comes into a 16, or like a 6, or no, is it 16 for camaraderie? It is. For camaraderie, it's 16. If another survivor comes within a 16-meter range of your hook while you are on struggle phase, this does not work. This does not work on phase 1. Then it will pause your skill checks and your timer for, I think it's also 30 seconds, like reassurance. This is really only, it's so niche, even when the killer's camping, right? Because if the killer is camping, what you don't want is for the survivor to get close enough to your hook to activate this, because it's 16-meter range. So you don't want them to get close enough to activate this perk, because then they're messing with your anti-camp. So yeah, this perk is bad. It's bad. It's not an active detriment, but it's bad. Fixated. Fixated is a B. Not horrible, not great, just kind of meh. If you use this with Sprint Burst, you are using it wrong. That is all I have to say. Or with any, if you're using it solely to be able to run down your exhaustion, you are using it wrong. That is all I have to say about Fixated. Inner Strength. This is our first D tier perk in a while. You'll notice sort of a pattern as we move on with the D tier perks, but Inner Strength basically allows you to cleanse a totem and then get in a locker, and once you come out of the locker, you'll be full healed. Here's the problem with this perk though. First, you have to find a totem, and we're not even going to account for the amount of time that takes, even if you have like a map or something, right? You have to find the totem, then you have to cleanse the totem, which takes 14 seconds, hex or dull, right? So it can activate off of a dull or a hex. So if the killer isn't running hexes, you're already wasting 14 seconds, okay? And then you have to get in a locker for 8 seconds to get the heal. So that's 22 seconds that you've spent wasting time, unless the killer is running hexes. If the killer is running hexes, this perk is better than being healed by another teammate. but hexes are extremely uncommon, and you don't know before the game if the killer's going to be having hexes or not. So most of the time you're going to be cleansing dulls for this, and you're going to be wasting time that you could have just been healed by a teammate. It takes 22 seconds to use this, and another teammate healing you is 16. 16 minus 22 is -6. That is 6 seconds you just wasted. I mean, it's wasting any amount of time Alright, sorry about that. Wasting any amount of time that you could have been on gens is an active detriment to the team. So this perk is D. Second Wind. This is a B. Second Wind is an anti-tunnel perk, I guess, technically. And what it does is after you heal somebody for 100% full charges, so this does not work if you heal alongside another survivor. Keep that in mind. You have to heal one survivor by yourself for the full 16 seconds. This perk activates, and when you get unhooked, it essentially operates like a syringe. You'll be broken for 20 seconds, but then you'll be full health after. So, yeah, not great, not horrible. It's definitely not a bad anti-tunnel perk, but there are better options, and it's definitely not great or game-changing. So, any means necessary. This is a B. Yeah, this is a B. Obviously, if the killer breaks every pallet, you're not going to get any value out of it, and in that case, it would be a C. But in a vacuum, I would say it's, you know, not great, not horrible, right? We'll assume that the killer doesn't break every pallet, and most killers won't break every single pallet. So you'll probably get a little bit of value out of this. Not quite negligible. I mean, being able to pick up a pallet is definitely a big deal, especially if they leave even one pallet unbroken for just a few seconds. You can slip your way in there and pick it back up, even if, like, while your teammate's in chase or something. So yeah, it's a B. It's not great, not horrible. Breakout. Breakout is a C on its own. In Sabo builds, this perk is a different story, but we're talking, once again, combo-less. So this perk on its own is negligible value at best. Lucky Break. So okay, it's bleeding and scratch marks only. All right. So Lucky Break suppresses your pools of blood and your scratch marks for 60 seconds after you are hit, and you can recharge it up by healing other survivors. So I'm gonna give this a B. I know some content creators would be like, oh my god, Lucky Break is like an S tier perk. You know, I've heard content creators say that before. But I just, again, maybe I'm kind of biased. I don't know. Like, I've had to learn how to track survivors without audio, and so you rely a lot on a lot of things with this perk. For starters, if the killer isn't deaf like I am, they'll just track you with their ears, unless you're running Iron Will too, but again, this is combo-less. I personally think that this perk is better in combos than it is on its own. On its own, it's kind of meh. In certain builds, with like Overcome, a med kit, and Bite the Bullet, and even Iron Will too. Well, actually, no, you can't use Overcome with Iron Will, so yeah. I mean, even just like Overcome, Bite the Bullet, and this perk with a med kit, like, it can definitely cause some like funny moments, you know? And I would argue that that build is definitely high A tier, but again, the perk alone is a B, I'd say. For the people, this is a C. You don't get any value out of this perk. If you use this perk, you are transferring your health state to another survivor. Which, don't get me wrong, isn't, like, necessarily a bad thing, but you don't see any of the value out of this perk. So it kind of falls into, like, the borrowed time leader situation, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's alright with, like, made for this, but, again, on its own, not good. Off the record, S. Off the record never leaves my build. This perk is a lot better and has a lot more benefits than people give it credit for. Basically, it is an anti-tunnel perk that activates for 80 seconds after you are unhooked. During that time, you have endurance, you make no grunts of pain, and your aura cannot be read at all during those 80 seconds. Now, if you perform a conspicuous action, like doing a generator, unhooking somebody, healing somebody, you'll lose the endurance, but you will not lose the grunts of pain or the aura reading. That stays no matter what, conspicuous action or not. So, yeah, this perk is insanely good, definitely has the capacity to change the outcome of the game, and makes tunneling a lot more difficult, especially if the killer, like, happens to lose you or something. So, yeah, very strong perk. Red herring, this is a D. This is an active detriment, especially if you use this while on a gen with another survivor, right? So what red herring does is after 3 seconds of gen repair, it activates, and if you enter a locker, it will give the killer a loud noise notification on that gen that you were working on. So if you were repairing that gen with another survivor, then the killer will go to that gen and find the other survivor instead of you on the gen, which is obviously an active detriment to the team. Plus, why would you ever want the killer to just, like, come to your gen? Unless you're trying to troll them with, like, blast mine or something, like, in which case, okay, haha, funny, but it's not good. It's still an active detriment to the team, wanting the killer to come and kick your gen or come and kick somebody off of your gen. Like, it's stupid. This perk is terrible. It's, yeah. Blood Pact. This is a C. Blood Pact, basically, it allows you and the Obsession to see each other's auras when one of you is injured. And after you heal with that Obsession, you guys will both get 7% haste as long as you stay within a short range of each other. So yeah, value is extremely negligible. Honestly, I think the best part of this perk is the aura reading and not the haste, especially on its own. So, all right, next we have Repressed Alliance. This is a D. This is a killer perk. If you don't understand what I'm saying based off that, you are the problem. This is a killer perk. Basically what it does is it blocks a gen on the survivor's command for 30 seconds. So basically the killer can't kick it, but you can't repair it either. Why would you ever stop yourself from being able to repair a gen? It is always better to let the killer kick it. Always. This perk is, like, before some other perks came out, this was the worst perk in the game. But we'll get to that. Soul Guard. This is a C. Soul Guard basically gives you endurance after being picked up from the dying state for, I believe, 10 seconds. And if you are cursed by a hex, it allows you to pick yourself up indefinitely. So if the killer's, like, hard slugging and they also happen to have hexes, this is good for that, I guess. But it incentivizes you to not want to cleanse those hexes. So, like, in order to get value out of your perk, it's just not good. In terms of anti-slug perks, it's not horrible, but all things considered, this perk has negligible value. Built to Last. Built to Last is... Built to Last is a B. Yeah, I think it is a really interesting idea to be able to recharge your items. And I guess you could argue this perk hard counters Franklin's, right? Because, like, you could pick up your item after it's been knocked out of your hand, use whatever's left of it, assuming it's not a flashlight, and then just get in a locker and recharge it. So yeah, I mean, this perk is good, especially with medkits and toolboxes, though. Being able to get, 4, 5, sometimes even 6 heals out of one medkit is crazy. Being able to get a lot of gen progress out of one single toolbox is great. I mean, yeah, this perk is not great or horrible. The whole reason it's not A tier is because you still have to spend 12 seconds in the locker. And that is arguably a waste of time. So, but yeah, I mean, still not horrible. Desperate Measures. This perk is difficult for me. Because it has the sole survivor left behind effect, where your team has to be in a worse position for you to get value out of this, but the value you get out of it is pretty good, and it's definitely noticeable. So that puts it between like D and A. So I don't know. I'll be a little bit generous. I'll give it a B. It just got buffed too, so the stackable boost to healing and unhooks that you get for each survivor that's injured, hooked, or dying is good. Yeah, I mean, it's still pretty meh, once again, for the sole fact that your team has to be in an objectively worse position for you to get value out of it, but it's not the worst of the worst. Visionary. Visionary is a C. This is a worse version of Deja Vu. This perk reveals the auras of any generators within 32 meters of you consistently, but there's no repair speed boost, and the perk deactivates for a short period of time after a gen is completed. So it's literally just a worse version of Deja Vu. This perk is bad. Yeah. Alright, Appraisal. This is a C. Basically, this perk allows you to rummage through chests. Yeah, it allows you to, after a chest has been opened and you've taken the item out of it, you can then essentially search the chest again for another item. It's a waste of time. This perk is bad. Deception. This is a C. This perk allows you to run by a locker and give the killer a loud noise notification on the locker as if you jumped into it, and it erases your scratch marks for a few seconds after, so the killer will think you jumped in the locker, but you didn't. It only works once, though. The first time you use this on a killer, you might get them with it. After that, you will never get them again with it. They'll know you have it, and they'll play around it. So, Power Struggle is a C on its own. Basically, this perk allows you to, while you're being carried by the killer, throw a pallet on their head if you have reached at least 15% wiggle progress. So that's why people combine it with flip-flop, because that converts your recovery into wiggle. So if you die under a pallet, you should be able to save yourself immediately. But on its own, I don't think I've ever seen somebody use Power Struggle without flip-flop or, flip-flop. Fast Track. Excuse me. So Fast Track, it suffers from the same thing that Soul Survivor and Left Behind do, and Desperate Measures, is that your team has to be in a worse position for you to use this perk. It gives you tokens for your team dying. For your teammates being hooked, you get 3 tokens each time. And when you hit a great skill check, you consume the tokens and get 1% extra progress on gens. I mean, it's like a C. It's not quite D, but the fact that your team has to be fucking dying for you to get the value out of this perk is, it just makes it bad. Self-preservation. Again, same kind of Soul Survivor Left Behind thing. This perk is a D, though. Basically what it does is it hides your scratch marks and pools of blood, and I think maybe your grunts of pain, too, for 10 seconds if another survivor gets hit within 16 meters of you. You're not even the one being chased. This perk is so bad. This perk is, I think, one of the lowest picked in the entire game, which is understandable. It's dog dookie trash, so, yeah. Smash Hit. I'm gonna give Smash Hit a B. This is an exhaustion perk that gives you a speed boost after you stun the killer with a pallet. And the exhaustion is only 20 seconds on it. So, hypothetically, you could pair it with another exhaustion perk. Not Sprint Burst, though. If you pair any exhaustion perk with Sprint Burst, you will never see the other one will never see the light of day. So, yeah, you can pair this with pretty much any exhaustion perk except Sprint Burst, because of the 20-second exhaustion. I give it a B because it's meh. As an exhaustion perk, it would be, like, if I was just ranking exhaustion perks here, it would be a C. But in terms of perks in general, I give it a B. Because a lot of the time, especially if killers have, like, Spirit Fury and Enduring, it can be really nice for getting out of that situation, because even when the killer does have Enduring and Spirit Fury, and the pallet insta-breaks and stuff like that, it still counts as a stun. So they still have to recover from their shortened stun with Enduring, but you'll get a decent bit of distance if you have Smash Hit up, right? However, the other side of the coin is that once the killer knows you have Smash Hit, they might just start respecting, unless they have those perks. So, alright, Bite the Bullet. This is a C on its own. This perk makes it so that all healing sounds and the grunts of pain of the healer and the healy are silenced during a healing action. So, I mean, it's cute. It's a cute little effect, but it's, yeah, I mean, the killer has eyes too. I don't know. Maybe this is another one that I'm biased on because I'm deaf and I don't use my ears anyway, so. Alright, Blast Mine. This is a C. I know. This perk is a lot of fun. It's hilarious, but it is not good, okay? All it does is stun the killer for a few seconds and blind them. If the killer has Lightborn, all it does is stun them. It's just, yeah. I mean, it's just not a good perk. It's not, again, not the worst of the worst, but, and as fun as it is objectively bad. Counterforce. This also just got a buff. Still a C, unfortunately. And that's because, again, you should never be wasting time cleansing dull totems. The only time you would see any value out of this is if the killer was running a full Hex build, and you have no way of knowing that when you bring the perk into the trial. So, negligible value at best. Flashbang. Flashbang is a B. I'll give Flashbang a B. Basically, Flashbang allows you, after completing 40% of a generator, to go in a locker, quickly craft a Flashbang, and then you can use that to blind the killer and save a teammate, hypothetically, if they're picking up a teammate. However, Flashbang saves are relatively difficult to get, especially for the average player, and can be hard countered by the killer just facing a wall, especially since they made the range of Flashbangs smaller. However, it, you know, when you do pull off a Flashbang save, it feels really good, and it requires the killer to have to reactivate a chase. So, I mean, it is just kind of meh for those reasons. Not great, not horrible. Resurgence. Resurgence is A tier, for sure. Basically, what this perk does is it makes it so that when you come off the hook, you are already 70% healed. The only things that will counter this are Hemorrhage and Mangled. So if the killer had Sloppy, if they have Gift of Pain when you come off the hook. Yeah, that's it, pretty much. Those are the only things that counter it. And arguably Leverage, right? Because that'll just slow down your healing speed. You'll still be at 70% when you come off the hook, but it'll slow it down to the point where it would make more sense for you to just finish off the remaining 30% of your heal by yourself. So, but yeah, still an A tier perk. Not game changing, but very good. Rookie Spirit. Rookie Spirit. Rookie Spirit is a B. I'll give it a B. The reason I give it a B is because it's good for beginners, but it's also not horrible in general, right? After you hit 3 great skill checks, this perk activates, or maybe it's good skill checks. I think it's just maybe 3 skill checks in general. This perk activates, and it'll show you the aura of any regressing generators for the rest of the trial. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a bad effect. It's not a great effect, either. It's beginner friendly, you know, it's just meh. Boon Circle of Healing. Boon Circle of Healing, I'm going to give a B. I've talked a lot of shit about this perk on my TikTok before, and rightfully so. It is terrible compared to what it used to be. The only way this perk remains a B is if you only bless one totem. That's the only way. If the killer ever snuffs this, do not re-bless. It is a waste of time. You've already wasted 14 seconds blessing the totem that you could have been on a gen. Yeah, just if the killer snuffs this totem, do not re-bless it. It is a waste of time. But in the event that you do not do that, it's a B. Very meh. Alright, Shadow Step. This is a C. Basically, this is also a boon. Has a 24-meter range, just like Circle of Healing. But instead of increasing your healing speed, it hides all survivors' scratch marks and auras within the range of the totem. So, it's negligible value, though. Because the killer can snuff it in 1 second. And, again, scratch marks are... I mean, using scratch marks as your sole way of tracking survivors, even if you're me and you're deaf, is noob practice. So, I mean, this perk is a noob stomper. That's what I have to say about it. But it is a waste of time to spend 14 seconds blessing a totem for this perk. Clairvoyance. Clairvoyance makes it so that whenever you are not holding an item, you can activate the perk, and it'll reveal the auras of... I want to say totems, chests, and generators. It's basically a map, but in a perk. Much like Detective's Hunch, but you can activate this whenever you want. I mean, but you can't be holding an item to use it. It's a worse version of Detective's Hunch. And where did I put Detective? I put Detective's Hunch in B. Yeah, this is getting a C. Boon Exponential. This is an, excuse me, all these other perks. S. Yes, you heard me. Because it can be game changing. It can literally change the outcome of a game. If the killer is getting a lot of pressure and snowballing because the survivors were all grouped up on the Circle of Healing and Exponential totem trying to reset, and even one person has the time to pick themselves up with this perk, it can change the entire game. This perk increases the recovery speed of any survivors within the range of the totem by 100% and allows them to pick themselves up infinitely. So yeah, I know this is a hot take. I know. A lot of people would disagree with me on this, but Boon Exponential is S tier. Corrupt intervention. Corrective action. Close, right? This perk is... This is a C. Basically what this perk does is when you hit great skill checks, you gain tokens. And upon gaining those tokens, anytime any other survivor on the map misses a skill check, it'll turn that into a good skill check and reveal their aura to the team. So you can all laugh and point at them. Very funny, haha. But it's not good. I mean, you know, it's mainly for players who are playing the game with their brand new friend who can't hit a skill check to save their life. It's better than Technician in that regard. So, but I mean, yeah, it's not good. Overcome. Overcome is B. I would put it in A, but the issue with this is that a lot of killers hard counter it. Any killer that can expose you, such as Ghostface and Myers. Any killer that can insta-down you, such as Hillbilly, Oni, Leatherface, totally just hard counters this perk. I mean, it's a very cute idea. I liked it when it came out. Like, it's a nice, fun idea for an exhaustion perk. Basically what it does is it increases the speed boost that you get after you get hit for like 2 seconds extra, I think. So it's definitely a nice idea, but it just gets hard countered by too many killer powers. Another example is like killers that you want to stay injured against, like Legion or Plague. You know, you're never gonna get value out of this. So yeah, it's not the best, but it's not horrible either. Alright, Boon Dark Theory. This is a C. Basically what this does is it gives anybody within the range of the boon, 24 meters, 3% haste. But I think this perk is inherently counterintuitive, right? In order to get the 3% haste from Dark Theory, you have to run to the 24-meter radius of the boon, but then the killer can either hear it or see it and just snuff it. So in order to get value out of this perk, you have to take the killer to the range of the totem where they can then snuff it. All of that just for 3% haste. Yeah, negligible value at best. That's if the killer chooses to ignore it. Alright. Empathic connection. I believe this just got a buff too. But basically what this does is it reveals your aura to any injured survivors on the map and increases your healing speed by, I think, like 70%. This is a B, you know? It's a fine perk, honestly. Not great, not horrible. It's just kind of there. Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to say about it, honestly. Alright, parental guidance. This perk reveals the aura of the killer. Oh no, wait, I'm thinking of troubleshooter. What does parental guidance do? This is one of the only perks I don't own. That's probably why I don't know what it does. After stunning the killer by any means, parental guidance suppresses your scratch marks, pools of blood, and grunts of pain for 7 seconds. Okay. This is a C. If the killer knows you have it after one use, they'll stop walking into pallets and chase with you. So you'll get 7 seconds of value out of it. Max. That's if the killer somehow can't track you without those 3 things. So, yeah. Inner focus. This is a B. This recently got a buff several months ago. Basically, it still reveals the scratch marks of other survivors to you, but they added another thing to it now, where anytime the killer hits another survivor, you get, I think, like 10 seconds of aura reading on them. Maybe it's a little bit less than that, but still. I mean, that's really good for flashlight saves to know which direction the killer is going to face whenever they pick up the survivor. It's good to know where a chase is going on while you're on a gen, so you know if you need to get out of the way or not. Yeah, it's a very meh perk. It's nothing crazy, nothing great, or even kind of close to game-changing, but it's good, you know, it's okay. Overzealous. This is a D tier perk. Basically what this perk does is it, after you cleanse or bless a totem, so 14 seconds of investment minimum, you gain 10% repair speed bonus. If it was a dull, if it was a hex, you get 20%. So let's do a little bit of quick math here. Oh, and overzealous deactivates if you get hit. So let's do a little bit of quick math here, okay? Let's say you find a dull totem at the start of the game by pure luck. You spawn right next to one, and you spend 14 seconds cleansing that dull totem, okay? Then you get 10% off the gen. Well, it's not 10 charges off the gen. You repair the gen 10% faster. Let me make that clear. So, gens take 90 seconds. 10% of 90 is 9 seconds. So you just invested 14 seconds cleansing or blessing a dull totem to get 9 seconds off of a gen. Okay? The only way this becomes worth it is if you cleanse a hex, not bless a hex. If you bless a hex, if you bless hexes, you have absolutely no sense of time management whatsoever. Yeah, the only way this perk even becomes kind of worth it is if you cleanse a hex. But you don't know when you get into the trial if the killer is going to have hexes. So, yeah, this perk is not good. This is an active detriment for you to bring because you are wasting more time cleansing dull totems than you save on the gen. Residual manifest. This is a C. This is like a troll perk. Most of the time when you see this perk, the survivors are just trying to troll you and make it so that you can't see the auras of your hooks when you're carrying survivors. But yeah, I mean, basically what it does is it blinds the killer. Like, it gives them the blindness status effect when you blind them with a flashlight or a flashbang or some other shit like that. And it makes it so that you can rummage through a chest and guarantee a basic flashlight. So, yeah, negligible value at best. Better than new, C tier. This also is negligible value at best. Basically what it does is after you heal a survivor, it gives them increased action speed on healing, cleansing, and like, what is it? I don't think unhooks. Maybe it's like opening chests or something. It doesn't even apply to gens, and it's like 4% or something. Let me find it here. Increases their action speed for blessing, cleansing, healing, and unlocking by, 16%. 16%. It doesn't even apply to gens. This perk is terrible. It's not an active detriment, but it's terrible. Hyperfocus. Hyperfocus is on its own a C. In the hands of most players. I know one person who can hit every great skill check on Hyperfocus for all 6 stacks without stakeout. One person who can do that consistently. Okay? So that is not easy. That is not an easy feat. And even if you can do that, it's maybe bottom of B tier. Like, it's just such a negligible amount of progress, extra progress that you get on the gen. It's best when combined with stakeout, so combo-less, it is a C tier perk. Low profile. Low profile suffers from the same thing that Left Behind and Soul Survivor do, so it's going in D. Basically what it does is when every other survivor is dead or in the dying state, or hooked, you will make no grunts of pain, no scratch marks, no pools of blood for 90 seconds. Basically what it does is it allows you to hide while your teammate is being slugged for the 4K and almost guarantee that you won't be found. That's what it does. It's a rat perk, much like Left Behind and Soul Survivor. So yeah, your team has to be at an active detriment for you to use it, and so yeah, it's a terrible perk. Reactive healing. Reactive healing is going in C. You will rarely get value from this perk. Basically what it does is when another survivor is hit within maybe 32 meters of you, I think, you gain like 50% of your missing healing progression. So if you're at 0% healed and another survivor gets hit within 32 meters of you, you'll get half healed. If you're half healed, you'll get to 75% healed. If you're 75% healed, you'll get to 87.5% healed. You'll never get to full healed with this, ever. The highest you can get is 99%, because doubling and doubling and doubling will never get you to an even 100. So, yeah, I mean, it's you will hardly ever see value out of this perk. Reassurance. Now, I know a lot of people think reassurance is overrated. I personally give this perk S tier. I do understand why people say it's overrated. However, okay, being able to be on the hook for 100 seconds, especially if the killer is camping, is crazy. That is genuinely crazy. Like, I had a teammate, a solo queue teammate, had reassurance, I want to say like last week, against this knight who was camping. I spent the entire 100 seconds on the hook, and he almost filled up my camp bar by just standing like right on the edge of the radius. And they got 3 gens done while I was on that hook because of those 100 seconds. Like, this perk is S tier. Like, I don't care what anybody says. Being able to be on the hook for 100 seconds is fucking crazy. It definitely has the ability to change the outcome of the game, so it is S. Wiretap. This perk is B. I would argue that it could hit A tier in places like Shack or Main, but in general, I have to give this a B. Not great, not horrible. You know, it's there for a long time. The activation requirement's pretty low. The aura reading is nice, but, you know, it's not impactful enough in places outside of, like, Shack or Main for it to be a consistent A tier, so. Fogwise. Fogwise is also B. In terms of killer aura reading, this perk is actually pretty good. Basically, every time you hit a great skill check, it'll reveal the killer's aura, I think, for like 6 seconds. So combine this with alert, and you'll get a lot of good aura reading while the killer is chasing another survivor, assuming you can hit your great skill checks. The only thing that hard counters this, though, is Mindbreaker, which is why I can't quite put it in A. Mindbreaker just absolutely hard counters this because you're blind while you're on gens, so Fogwise will just never work. Potential Energy. Potential Energy is a D. This perk is an active detriment for you to use. So basically what this perk does is whenever you are on a gen for, I believe, like at least 3 seconds or something like that, this perk activates, and you can press a button to store potential energy. When you do this, the gen will not progress for 20 seconds, but you will rack up tokens, 1 for each second, that the progression is paused, so you can gain up to 20 tokens. Being hit causes you to lose all of these tokens, but after you have all the tokens gained, you can go and put them in another gen. When you go and put them in another gen, you get 1/2, like 0.5% of each token, if that makes, like, I don't know how to explain, like, you get half of the token, right? So if I have 20 tokens and I go and put them all in another gen, I'll have 10% gen progress. So this perk was originally designed to combat 3 gens. I see the vision, but it is objectively a detriment for you to run this perk. For you to stop gen progression on one gen, to go and get half of the progress on a different one, like to take, 20 seconds that you could have just been repairing the damn gen, to pause repairs, to get 10% to put into another gen, it's terrible. This perk is one of the worst in the game, especially now that 3 gens are no longer a thing, and again, is actively hurting your team by using this. Quick Gambit. Quick Gambit is a C. What this perk does is while you're in chase, and healthy, but I'll get to that in a second. While you're in chase, you can see the aura of the generator with the most progress, and it causes all survivors' repair speeds across the map to be increased by 5%. This perk deactivates for 60 seconds when you get hit. So unless you can loop for another minute, once you get injured, you will not see it reactivate. Or if you play injured for the remainder of the game. Yeah, so this perk is in the negligible value at best. I mean, I personally think the best part of this perk is being able to see the gen with the most progress, because that will actually stop you from running to that gen and getting, a whole bunch of pressure loss right there. The 5% repair speed bonus it's negligible. So yeah, I mean, C tier. Background player. Background player is a C on its own. Again, combo-less. This perk is by far the worst exhaustion perk in the game. It is the only one that you cannot use while in a chase. The whole point of an exhaustion perk is to extend the length of time that your chase lasts. You cannot do that if your exhaustion perk of choice is background player. So, yeah, this perk is bad. Blood Rush. Blood Rush is a C. This is probably the worst anti-tunnel perk in the game. Yeah, it's just, what it does basically is it activates for 60 seconds after you're unhooked, same timer as DS, and during that time you can recover from your exhaustion for free. So the best exhaustion perk to run this with is obviously Sprint Burst. It does not work with Dead Hard, because Dead Hard doesn't just go on exhaustion cooldown like Sprint Burst or Live does. It completely deactivates after you use it, so it does not work with Dead Hard. So basically, you can use your sprint burst off the hook, the killer tunnels you, you can recover your exhaustion with blood rush and get sprint burst again. You know, it's a cute little effect, but in terms of anti-tunnel, definitely I would argue the worst anti-tunnel perk in the game. And it's just, you know, it's not a big enough effect. And again, once again, this is combo-less, right? So blood rush without any exhaustion is obviously completely useless. So yeah, this perk is bad. Cut Loose, also a C. This is just like a worse version of Quick and Quiet. What it does is when you vault a window, it activates, and I think anytime you vault for like the next 6 seconds, it'll be completely silent. I think. Maybe it's longer than that. Yeah, for 6 seconds. Yeah, and it resets the timer if you do it, though. So if you hit a fast vault, it gives a loud noise notification. Then for 6 seconds, you can get a free silent vault. If you vault again within the next 6 seconds, another silent vault, etc., etc. But after you run out this 6-second timer, it has a cooldown of 45 seconds. So yeah, that's it's just a worse version of Quick and Quiet. I'd rather just have the flat 20-second cooldown and one-time use. Friendly Competition. This is a C tier perk. Basically what it does is after you finish repairing a gen with another survivor, it'll give them a 5% repair speed bonus for like 60 seconds, I believe. Maybe it's like 90, actually. For 75 seconds. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah. And it increases your repair speed too, I guess. So 5% though, I mean, so you take a 15% hit for doing the gen with another survivor, right? But you only get 5% extra speed on your next gen. It's negligible value at best. I mean, it's not an active detriment, but it's bad. Teamwork Collective Stealth. This is a C. Basically what this does is after you finish healing with another survivor, neither of you will leave any scratch marks until you leave a certain range of each other, or I think until one of you gets hit. It's just bad. I mean, it's, again, I can't put it in D tier because it's not an active detriment to the team, but it is bad. It is probably one of the worst in C tier. Same with Teamwork Power of 2 on its own. This is just, it's the same exact concept as Collective Stealth, but it's haste instead of suppressed scratch mark. Its perks are so bad, dude. Like, as we're getting later and later into the list of survivors, like we're on Toledo right now, so this is 2023. Like, I haven't seen a good perk in so long. When was the last time I put a perk in A tier? It was fucking Resurgence. Before that, it was Reassurance, like, in S. Yeah, like, it has been so long since I've put anything in A or S tier. Alright, Made for This. Now we have one. Okay. So, Made for This, I'm kind of torn here between A and B. I don't think this perk has the capacity to change the outcome of the game, so it's definitely not S. But I want to put it in A for the endurance you get after healing somebody alone. I feel like that's really good for the situations where you're really trying to stick a heal on somebody. Like they're being tunneled or something. And obviously the 3% haste when you're deep wounded is nice, but to ensure value out of that, you have to bring like Dead Harder off the record. So, and this is, again, combo-less. So I have to give it a B for that, because we're doing combo-less. I have to give it a B. But Made for This has made a bit of a comeback lately, and it's nice to see. It's definitely not as good as it used to be, but it's not totally useless either. Scavenger. Okay, this perk I always forget what exactly it does, so I am going to pull it up so I don't make any mistakes. Okay. Where others see junk, you see valuable improved tools. While holding a depleted toolbox, Scavenger activates. Succeeding at a great repairing skill check grants 1 token up to a maximum of 5 tokens. Reaching the maximum number of tokens automatically consumes them and fully recharges the toolbox. Recharging the toolbox, reduce your repair speed by 50% for the next... This is a D tier perk. That's all I needed to see. It reduces your repair speed by 50% for 30 seconds. That is an active detriment to the team. That is a D tier perk. Holy shit. I didn't realize it was that bad. Okay, this is the perk I was thinking of before with parental guidance. This is Troubleshooter. Anytime you drop a pallet, I don't think you need to stun the killer. If you drop a pallet, it reveals the killer's aura, and the aura of the gen with the most progress for a few seconds. So it's definitely not horrible. I'm going to put this in B. You're always going to be dropping pallets, you know? The fact that it's not a stun requirement, to my knowledge. Let's see. Troubleshooter. If it's a stun requirement, I'm going to move it down to C, but... Oh, when you're chased by the killer. Okay, no, yeah. So the chase... When you're being chased by the killer, the generator one activates, and it's 6 seconds for the pallet drop on the aura of the killer. So yeah, that's a B tier perk. Yeah, for sure. Dramaturgy. I'm a dramaturgy hater till I die. If dramaturgy has no haters, I'm dead. This is a C tier perk. It is one of 2 survivor perks that can literally expose you. And every time I'm playing killer and a survivor has fucking dramaturgy, they always get fucked by the exposed. And I get a free down on them because they're not good enough to be looping while exposed. These are the same people who would probably shit on Shoulder the Burden for exposing you. Dramaturgy is fucking terrible, and I'm sick and tired of people comparing it to Old Dead Hard. It gives you 40-second exhaustion for half the speed boost and half the time on the speed boost. You only get 25% haste for 2 seconds, guaranteed, from this perk, and it exhausts you for 40 seconds. The perk is fucking awful. I hate dramaturgy. Plot Twist is a D tier perk. As funny as it can be in those like TikToks where the survivor will down themselves on a ledge and the killer will like swing off and fucking drop down the hole. Those are hilarious. But Plot Twist, for its intended use, is objectively a waste of time. Takes 32 seconds to use this perk, 16 seconds for another survivor to heal you, so you are wasting 16 seconds that you could have been on a gen. Active detriment to the team, D tier perk. Scene Partner. Scene Partner, honestly, I'm going to give a B too. I think it's Nicolas Cage's best perk, by far. Yeah, I mean, it has like I think a 60-second cooldown. But the aura reading you get out of it when you get in the killer's terror radius is nice. You have to know, though, that when you use this perk, you can no longer hide. Hiding is no longer an option after that time. So, yeah, it's just something to keep in mind if you're going to use this perk. But yeah, not great, not horrible. It's just all right. Chemtrap. Chemtrap, I'm going to give it a C. The value you get out of this perk is, again, negligible at best. It's not, like, bottom of C. Like, we have a lot of different perks in C, right? But this isn't, like, you know, as bad as some of these other perks in C. But, I mean, you slow the killer down by, like, 20% for 6 seconds. Like, you're not going to get a crazy amount of distance from this, you know? Unless you also have, like, Smash It. I don't know. This perk is just meh. It's very funny. Very funny. A lot of fun, but it's not good. Light-footed, also a C. Again, the value you get out of it is negligible. All it does is it makes it so that your footsteps are silent when you are not injured. When you are healthy, your footsteps are silent. That's it. So, I mean, most people who use this are, like, trying to go for, like, flashbang palette and flashlight saves. But, I mean, it's just not very good. Again, negligible value. Killers can track you 100 other ways besides the sound of your footsteps. And again, maybe I'm biased because I can't hear footsteps anyway. Lucky Star. This is a C tier perk. Basically, for this perk, here, let's read it. It has a whole bunch of stuff that it does, so I just want to read it, make sure I don't miss anything. Alright, while hiding inside a locker, you benefit from the following effects. Suppress your grunts of pain. After exiting the locker, you benefit from the following effects for 30 seconds. No grunts of pain and no pools of blood. The auras of other survivors are revealed to you, and the auras of the closest generator is revealed to you in yellow. It has a cooldown of 30 seconds. Okay, how long do you have to be inside the locker to activate it, though? Is there no, like, time requirement? Huh. So you don't have to be in there for any certain amount of time. You just quickly go in and go out. If that's the case, then I'm going to go B. I thought you had to be in there for a certain amount of time for it to work. I guess not. We'll give it a B. Champion of Light. I'll give this perk a B as well. The fact that it increases your movement speed while you are shining the flashlight and then hinders the killer after they are blinded makes it so that you don't lose nearly as much distance from blinding at pallets. If you blind at pallets still in 2025 without Champion of Light, just know that you are losing an immense amount of distance that you could have had at, like, if you had just run away from the pallet when the killer broke it. So, but Champion of Light totally circumvents that. You can get even more distance after the killer breaks pallet and you blind them. So, yeah, I mean, this perk is not horrible, not great. I wouldn't give up a perk slot for it. It's more of a troll perk than anything else, but, I mean, it's certainly not bad. Boon Illumination. This is a C tier perk. This perk is only good for beginners to know where chests, totems, and generators are within the range of the boon, but it's locked behind a paywall, so beginners are going to get it. I mean, it's, yeah. I mean, this is the worst boon by far. This perk is terrible. Why spend 14 seconds to know where those things are when you could just bring a map? This is what, like the 4th perk that does the exact same thing that a map does with a 14-second time investment? Crazy. This perk is terrible. Deadline. See, this perk is also terrible. Basically, it gives you like doctor-esque skill checks when you're injured, in exchange for a teeny, tiny, eensy, weensy little bit for each hit skill check, like more on the gen. It's so negligible. Like, do a gen with deadline and then do a gen without deadline and you'll barely notice a difference. I promise. But I need somebody to make that. One is a gen that starts the exact same time and this one starts the exact same time. This person has deadline and this one doesn't. And I need to see which gen. I know which gen will get done faster, especially if the person on the right hits every great skill check. Invocation Weaving Spiders. This perk has been quite controversial throughout DBD history since it came into existence. When this perk first came out, it was no doubt, without a question, D tier, and arguably the worst survivor perk in the entire game. At that time, it was a 2-minute, 120-second investment for 70 charges off a gen. So you were just wasting 50 seconds that you could have been on a gen. This perk was terrible. And you would get broken for the entire game after. Now, it's a 60-second investment for 70 charges on a gen, so you actually gain 10 seconds, interestingly. Only if you do this, though, at 5 gens left. If you do this any later than 5 gens, you are wasting time, you are a detriment to the team. And of course, there is still the whole being broken for the rest of the game thing. If I were to make any change to this perk, what I would do is I would make it so that the broken goes away after the exit gates are powered. I would make that the case for all invocations because that is the biggest downside of this, is it makes it impossible for you to help with like endgame saves and stuff. But with that being said, I'm going to put it in C tier. It is not an active detriment anymore unless you are using it after 5 gens, in which case it is a D tier perk. But the fact that it saves 10 seconds now makes me put it in C. That's all I have to say about it. Strength and Shadows, D tier. This perk makes it take 35 seconds or so to heal yourself in the basement without a medkit, when you could just be healed by another survivor for 16. So you waste 19 seconds that you could have been on a gen. Active detriment, D tier. Wicked. Wicked is B. Wicked is going in B. It is a worse version of Deliverance, but it has the nice little added bonus of even if you don't get hooked in the basement and don't get to use the self-unhook, you can still see the killer's aura after you get unhooked, which is nice. But for the sole fact that it's a worse version of Deliverance, I can't put it in S or A, so it's going in B. Bardic Inspiration. This is a D tier perk. This perk, again, a lot of fun, super funny. If you're using it for the memes, great. I love you. If you're using it to gen rush, just know you're doing the opposite. You are wasting time. The Bardic Inspiration performance takes 20 seconds. Okay? So the only way that you are making back that time with, you know, the benefits of this perk is if you roll a 20. If you roll a 20. That's it. That's the only way that you're getting that time back. It's just objectively bad. This perk is a detriment to use, but it is funny, and it is fun. Again, if you're using it for the memes, you have my utmost respect. If you use it to be serious, you're the worst, and I hate you. Mirrored Illusion. This is C. This perk is also like a meme troll perk. Super funny, but not good. Basically what it does is it allows you to put a fake little version of yourself interacting with like a gen or a totem or a chest or an exit gate. It's very obvious though which one. Like it's incredibly obvious that the illusion is fake. It's nearly impossible to fall for more than once, so it's not good, but it's funny. Still sight. This is a C. Basically what this does is when you stand still for like 5 seconds, you can see the auras of any generators, chests, totems, and the killer within 24 meters. It's such a small range. It does the exact same thing that Illumination does, but a smaller, but no 14 seconds to bless. And guess what? It does exactly what a map and a key do. It's not good. Finesse. Okay, this one's gonna be a hot take. Oh, where'd it go? Oh, I didn't mean to put it in D. I promise. For that. Finesse, B. Finesse is a B tier perk. The fact that it has a cooldown and the healthy requirement make it not worth using. It's not good. I'm sorry. Finesse, I've said this since it released. The health state requirement and the 30-second cooldown are what makes it not A or S tier, and why it will never be A or S tier. If they got rid of one of those conditions, it would go up to A. But for the sole fact that it has 2 activation requirements for you to vault 20% faster in what will probably be once in your entire chase, it's meh. It's not bad. It's not C or D, so it's not bad. It's just meh. Hardened. This perk is a D. This is an active detriment for you to use. Basically what this does is after you, cleanse a totem or open a chest, here, let's read it on the wiki. I don't want to misspeak with this. It suppresses your screams, but I need to read it exactly. After unlocking a chest and, that was what I was worried about. It's not or. And either blessing or cleansing a totem, hardened activates, suppresses the urge to scream from any cause and instead causes the aura of the killer to be revealed to you for 5 seconds. So you have to invest 8 seconds from the chest and 14 from the totem, so 22 to just not scream and get an aura read for 5 seconds. So you would have to need to scream and instead reveal the aura of the killer 5 times to get your time back. And even then, it's not like you're getting gen time back. This perk is objectively a waste of time, objectively a detriment to the team. It is a D tier perk. And same with Specialist. I believe Specialist activation requirements are the same. I believe it's also an and, but I want to make sure. Whenever you unlock or rummage through a chest, Specialist gains 1 token up to a maximum of 6. Succeeding a great repair skill check while repairing a generator consumes all tokens, permanently reduces the repair charges requirement of that generator by 4 charges per token up to a maximum of 24 charges. Right, okay. So it is not an and, it's just the chest, okay. So if you search one chest and you get 1 token and you hit your great repair skill check, you'll reduce the remaining repair charges by 4 per token. So 4 if you search one chest. Searching a chest takes 8 seconds. This 4 charges means 4 seconds. So you automatically lose 4 seconds for just one token. If you get 6 tokens, okay, that means you spent 48 seconds on chests, minimum, not counting the time that you had to find those chests. You get 24 seconds back. You will only ever make back half of your time. So you are wasting double the amount of time that you could have just been on the gen by using this perk. Active Detriment, D tier. Exaltation. This perk makes it so that when you stun the killer with a pallet, it increases the rarity of your item. And also recharges it by a certain amount. So yeah, I mean, that's definitely not bad. That's going in B tier. And you get to keep the higher rarity item. So that's cool. Yeah. B. Not great, not horrible, just meh. Eyes of Belmont. This is like Lethal Pursuer, but for survivors. Basically, after any gens are repaired, it reveals the killer's aura for a couple of seconds, but it also increases any other aura reading you have by a couple of seconds. So, yeah, that's a B tier perk for sure. Not great, not horrible. On its own, that's why it's B, right? On its own, it's a B tier perk. Combined with like alert, in like a full aura reading build with like alert, Fogwise, and I don't even know, like Wicked or something maybe, you could have like a really solid build right there, like an A tier build, I'd say. Moment of Glory. What this perk does is after you search through, I think it's rummaging as well, after you search or rummage through 2 chests, this perk activates. You can become broken for 60 seconds, and after those 60 seconds, you'll be healed. So this is just a worse version of a syringe. Like a lot of these perks have been worse versions of maps. Now we have a perk that's a worse version of a medkit add-on. Okay? You have to invest 16 seconds minimum of your time to go and get broken for 60 seconds, when you could just bring a syringe. Get a free heal in 24 seconds. So yeah, this is a C tier perk. It's not quite an active detriment, right? Because, actually wait, no, Moment of Glory is, because it's not like, I was thinking of Clean Break. With Clean Break, you are already healing another survivor. You're already making that 16-second investment, and then when they start healing you, you use your Clean Break. So that one would be C tier. Moment of Glory is D tier, because you have to go and do a side objective instead of generators to activate this perk. If a lot of these perks activation requirements were based off of doing gens, they'd be infinitely better. Just putting that out there. It's the only actual objective in the game. Treacherous Crows, D. This is, and I think most people would agree, the worst perk in the game for survivors. What this does is you go and do an invocation, much like Weaving Spiders here, for 60 seconds. And when you finish this invocation, anytime the killer scares a crow, their aura will be revealed for 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Survivors often scare crows, not only just more frequently, but before the killer has a chance to scare one. And the aura read is only 2 seconds. This perk is terrible. You would have to reveal the killer's aura 30 times to get your time back. And you're broken for the rest of the trial with this one too. This perk is shit. This perk is the worst in the game. D tier. Shoulder the Burden. This perk is S. This is either the best or the second best survivor perk in the game, depending on if you think Shoulder is better than Deliverance. Basically what this perk does is it allows you to take a hook state for a teammate. And so when you run up to a teammate, instead of seeing unhook, well, you'll still see unhook, but you'll also have the option to shoulder the burden. When you do this, one of the survivor's hook states will be transferred to you, and you'll become exposed for 40 seconds. So this is a team anti-tunnel perk that most definitely has an outcome or an impact on the outcome of the game. I use this all the time when I'm playing with friends. And the amount of games that we have turned around by simply not allowing the killer to tunnel somebody out is unbelievable. Actually unbelievable. I mean, I've had games where we've had to shoulder for the same person 5 or 6 times, and they still survive. Like, it's just, this perk is insane. This perk is crazy. I would not recommend you to run it in solo queue, okay? But when playing with even just one friend, this perk is amazing. Alright, we're down to the last 3 perks, Aurella's perks here. So first we have Do No Harm. This is the perk that increases the healing speed for each hook state that the survivor has. It's 50% when they have 1 hook state and 100% for 2. So this is just a worse version of Will Make It. And for that reason, I have to put it 1 tier below Will Make It, which is A. So we're going to give this B. This is Duty of Care. What this does is it gives any survivors within a certain range of you, when you take a protection hit, 25% haste for 6 seconds. So that is insanely good for getting out of a lot of, like tunneling situations or endgame situations when you just unhook somebody. This perk, I would say it's definitely more of a swift perk, but still alright in solo queue if you're an altruistic player. B. And finally, we have Rapid Response. This perk reveals the aura of the killer to you when you become exhausted. It also has its own way to exhaust you by fast exiting a locker. Nobody uses it for that. They just pair it with their exhaustion perk to get the aura reading. However, this is a combo list tier list. So on its own, I do have to give it a C because the exhaustion requirement that it gives you, like fast exiting a locker, is obviously terrible. But yeah, so remember, I'll say it again, this is not, like, the tiers themselves are not in any particular order. So yeah, okay. Yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think of this, what you agree or disagree with. Obviously, this is mostly my opinion. If you're able to convince me of anything different, please make your best effort. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this extremely long video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, follow my other socials, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!